Ramirez, your host of Stand Out and Grow. I want to help your business stand out, survive, succeed, and grow. Building your business is really, really hard. And knowing what marketing and advertising tools you need to help you become successful is extremely confusing. After 30 years of working with thousands of businesses, I am here to help you make good business decisions. I want to help you understand the programs that are available to you so that you can stand out, survive, succeed, and grow. So let's get started. Hey there, this is Kat, and thank you for joining me and my Stand Out and Grow podcast. And today I have a truly special guest on. This person is doing a lot of incredible things with our youth. So I can't wait for him to share his story. He's got a lot of things going on and primarily going to be in the Midwest. So he's going to tell you all about it. Sean Lanier, I don't want to butcher his name, ex-military aviator and founder of Resolve Solution, Inc. And so let's bring him on so you can learn his mission and what he is all about. Hey, Sean.
Hey, good morning, Kat.
How are you doing today?
Outstanding. We've come a long way since the Military Influencers Conference back in D.C.
I was going to mention that. I was going to say, hey, that's where we met. That was what, 4 years ago?
I don't know. It's like Thanos with the snap. You just reappeared.
Now, where are you coming from today?
I'm here back home. It's still in the D.C. area. I'm here in Alexandria, Virginia.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so for anybody that is tuning in, give the audience and anybody who's tuning in a little information about your background and your organization.
Yeah, thank you. Bottom line, I'm the founder and executive director for Resolve Solutions Incorporated, and you got to go back a little bit. If you can imagine when they used to have all those air shows, imagine like a little boy that's like 2 years old, staring at the aircraft, fingers clutching the fence, and the mom's tugging at him, hey, let's go get better seats, and he's still there. I was that kid. So I was very fortunate to find out what I wanted to do very early on, and that was to become an aviator. And I was able to do that. Went to Virginia Military Institute, went to flight school. The Army let me fly Black Hawk helicopters, and next thing you know, went to the whole 35 countries, 6 deployments, and around the world, and did that. And I realized that my childhood dream was to become a pilot. But my passion was to help kids, and I knew I had to retire, and it was a seamless transition where I found at Resolve, where we help kids who want to go into military and also civilian service careers. So essentially, I've become somewhat of a dream maker in helping kids.
And you know what? The thing I love about your story and the background is this is really something of your own personal passion, right? This was yours at the beginning of your life that you are now putting into your program, right? Your program of what you're very passionate about. And I love that as a child, you dreamed about, becoming an aviator, and you made it happen, right? You made it happen.
I was very fortunate. I had some great support system network with my family that there was never a question or doubt about being an aviator. Of course, my father, most people don't know this, my father was a Vietnam medevac pilot. So he flew Huey helicopters. So I had the tradition of growing up and thinking I wanted to be like the Cobras that's behind the flying support and that type of stuff. So the first time he took me up flying was in Tennessee in one of those old MASH helicopters. And I was hooked then. I think I was about 5 years old. And I still remember that to this day, that thrill of aviation. So I get the same thrill right now when a kid gets a scholarship, goes to college, pins those bars on, and seeing their parents, especially if it's a continued family legacy where the mother's in uniform and they're giving their kid the first salute and doing that. There's something that you can't put a price to that.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? I have to share my personal story with the military because I'm a veteran as well. Yeah. My personal story was when I was growing up
as a little girl. Like, I always saw myself going into the military. Always, always, always. It was a natural thing. And I think a lot of it was media, because I, aim high, be all you can be. And I was really sold on that, right? On aim high, be all you can be. And it was a dream of mine to go into the military. And as I envisioned it, and what I had in my vision was I was going to be in it for life, but it didn't end up that way, which is okay. It's okay. I still got the fulfillment out of it because I got my education. So many things, so many people that I was connected to. It's like a family. It's like a second family, right?
See, you're a perfect example of when we talk to kids, because we try to tell kids and their parents, particularly that are concerned, obviously, for their loved ones, is that, hey, there's a range. You have to think of DoD or the military as like a Fortune 500 companies. Everyone is not going to be jumping out of the planes at old Dark 30, kicking in doors, that type of stuff, or flying around, blowing stuff up. It's not going to have that. You're going to have your doctors, your accountants, your lawyers, your finance people, your public affairs people, the videographers. I mean, you have a range of those skill sets that you have there. But the big takeaway for what we do is giving the kids the opportunity to understand that someone has to be in charge. Someone has to be a leader, right? That's your skill set. That's what we want you to do. So don't look at the military as a, like, hey, I'm going to go to war. Look at it as like, how am I going to lead people? How am I going to make other people better? And the military is the best place to do that, because you get those responsibilities and that training. And particularly in ROTC, ROTC is not going a bunch of the field exercise. It's 80% of it is about leadership. And if it's a great way to pay off your, pay off part of your degree, come out of college with minimal debt, little to no debt, which means you have higher disposable income, which means you can invest in yourself. And then, other benefits, you're using your GI Bill to pay for your advanced degree. So if you're a doctor and want a medical profession, think about, going through 7 to 8 years of training with no debt, or going to law school with no debt coming out, which you could be using that money that you spend on those loans repaying, or being able to purchase a home with no money down. That's huge. I live in Northern Virginia, getting a home with no money down up here, it's almost like a no-brainer. But a lot of just families don't know. And historically, a lot of families don't know that, particularly for a lot of minorities, that was in a lot of rural community folks, that was a huge way to get into the middle class. And that model hasn't changed. Those things are out there for your benefit for a reason. And fortunately, we've had about 550 kids from 23 states to earn about $51 million in offers to the schools of their choices that have figured it out, and then, so there's more, and DoD spends about $750 million, and that's $750 million with a billion with a B annually on this money out here. So take advantage of it,
Right. Okay. So let's take a step back. Let's talk about Resolve Solutions. What is Resolve Solutions?
Resolve is a very is an airplane being built in flight.
Okay.
We did that. We started off as a volunteer alumni association. Volunteer alumni. That if I figured out was a much larger mission behind that. I couldn't just go out into one high school looking for my alma mater when there's larger DoD needs. So we expanded from there, where we're a team of 4 volunteers. Hopefully in 2022, through some donations and some grants, that we'll be able to expand our staff. We would like to get 4 full-time folks and 7 part-time. And those are the grant writers, the fundraisers and support staff, the videographers to tell these kids stories, because we want to scale up to about 500 kids per year. That's about $40 million worth of scholarships. But the key to all this is that we have to have a high retention rate and graduation rate. And to do that, we also try to provide funding for kids to go to summer school before the start of their freshman year. And then after their freshman year, because we know there's about an 82% retention rate when kids go to summer school, because they get acclimated, build a support network, with the faculty, some other alumni. And then we encourage kids to go to language immersion opportunities after their freshman year, because essentially, after freshman year, it's kind of like a dead summer. You can't get an internship because you haven't gotten into your major. So go overseas, get some experience, so then we can try to help you get an internship and after your sophomore and junior year. Now, you do have a military commitment. Sometimes, you got to go to some type of field training, 2 to 4 weeks, but you have 13 weeks off in the summer. But at the end of the day, by the time you get ready to become an officer, you have to be a well-rounded person, having that civil military experience. So you mentioned it earlier, the Air Force, they got these great commercials. So a kid says, hey, I saw a great commercial, that I want to be a cyber officer for the Air Force. Well, it helps if you say, why? If your resume shows that you're a computer science major, that, went to China after your freshman year, after your sophomore year, you went to China working, Hilton Worldwide, doing cybersecurity ops, in China. And then you came back after your junior year, you went to a Fortune 500 company or one of the letter agencies here, got an internship, and then you put your application in, you're a much more well-rounded candidate. That's coming out of you have much more skill sets, not just for your military career, but also you get exposure for things that you want to do in case you say, hey, the military is not for you. And that's what we're really just trying to do, create a more holistic product on the back end and produce.
Okay, so what I'm understanding is you're actually helping kids think about their future at an earlier age.
Yes.
Than what, parents are grooming, their kids for, right?
Yes.
You're planning way ahead.
Yes. But sometimes it's in a kid, you have to have 2 to 3 adults in a kid's life. And sometimes, quite frankly, the adult may not be the parent, not because they can't be. Sometimes it may not have that experience. Yep. So we just want to take and give them some ideas that are proven that, hey, this is the pathway for success. Whether you choose to do it or not, that's really up to you. We just want to make sure that you're aware so you can't come back and say, well, no one told me.
Right. Exactly. And so let's talk about some success stories. Are there any success stories you want to share with us?
Yeah, I had one young man, Leander Jefferson, went to an event, West Point Leads, Leadership and Ethics and Diversity and STEM event in Detroit, and met his JROTC instructor, said, hey, I have a kid for you, not quite West Point, talking, maybe interested in the VMI because he wants to go to the Marine Corps. Flew the kid down. We flew him down to VMI, did the tour. He fell in love with the place. He got accepted for a 4-year Navy ROTC scholarship with Marine Corps option. Graduated. The bottom line is they graduated from VMI this past summer, finishes the basic course school this past March, got married, has a kid on the way, and is a Marine Corps lieutenant.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah. So he's in this great example. We also have Bethany White, who will graduate from dental school, president of her class at West Virginia University, and then direct commission in the Army from there. So we have a number of success stories. Last year, we had 38 student scholars that graduated and commissioned, representing all 5 branches of service. That was the first year we had all 5 branches of service in 1 year.
Wow.
At one time, so we have kids that are going to Guam, that are in Washington, some kids that are preparing to deploy now, and the pipeline continues. And we have X amount of kids. I mean, we have about another 40 kids this year that's on track to graduate and commission. But at the same time, on the front end of that pipeline, we have about 119 kids that we're waiting to get feedback on. We have 36 kids who've gotten ROTC scholarships and or Service Academy appointments already. We'll know in the next week how many total that we have, but we potentially have over 120 kids coming into as freshmen this year, starting that process all over again. Yep. And that's the great part about this is that the kids don't stop. This goes on every year. So that's the part that gets me excited. You start over with a new batch and, you show them examples of the path. Now you can show them not the old gray hair guys like myself. You have the examples of, hey, a little bit younger, closer in age to them that went through this path and that journey that they can kind of look and come up with their own idea and their own vision of how they want to craft for themselves.
Right. And so how does a student get involved? How does one get introduced to the program? How does this work? To walk me through the process.
Well, historically we find our kids through our team of volunteers. We have our volunteer employees, but we have what I call local champions, network of veterans like yourself, alumni, coaches that we talk to, counselors. Those are what I call local champions. That they identify kids for us from there. Then also, kids can look at our Instagram page, and what we're really hoping that the kids that are success stories, that we tell their stories on our Instagram and Twitter feed, that they'll see that and they'll reach out to our website which is resolvesolutions.org, or find us on Instagram and DM us there, and reach out to us directly. And then and kind of kick it. It's a very informal process. You said something critical very early. There are so many different pathways of how people come into the military. The military doesn't care how you get there, as long as you show up, right?
Yes.
They are true believers that 90% of life is showing up. So, and that's the great, I think that people don't really realize that people come into the military in a variety of different ways. I showed up at the recruiter because I had some troubles academically, and I went to recruiter and went in and was going to enlist, and they got twisted, diverted back, but it's just a variety of different ways. And we just want to help you. This is a defined way to kind of get there. Right.
And you are creating some structure. You're also creating some processes in place. But I think the more important thing is really educating these students about the opportunities, right? The opportunities that are available to them, whereas they may not have known otherwise, right? Without the exposure to this.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Another example, we have a young lady, Julianne Cherry, that's completing her freshman year at Temple University out of Washington, D.C. I met her at a track meet, and her mother in Washington, outside the Washington, D.C. area. Now, she's got a full ride with refund check in Temple. She had 3.9 GPA.
Wow.
There. And this summer she's going to France for language immersion. And we're trying to figure out a way to shoehorn her into a letter agency so she can work with some professionals to understand about health policy to determine if that's what she wants to do. They could potentially shape her decision if she want to go to law school or not.
Right.
So again, there's a different pathways that we want to get there. And one of the reasons I'm excited to be part of your program, because we're really looking, as we kind of scale up to that 500 kids per year, we're looking at other areas to get kids from. We're looking definitely at the Midwest, folks out there in Milwaukee, kids in Chicago, Detroit. I will be in the Midwest this summer as a part of a master's program in Notre Dame. That'll take me 14 months to complete, but I'll be out there this summer and next summer. But hopefully in between, I'll be able to have a recruiting strategy in place where we can come out and get more kids in the Midwest, because we're also working on academic partnerships with about 25 schools, over half of which are HBCUs. I think actually more like 18 are HBCUs, and then with a couple of senior military colleges. But ideally, we would like to get these kids to come in and be exposed to some of these commissioning sources, particularly HBCUs or HSI, Hispanic serving institutions, have them come out, for example, from the Midwest, be aware of these, because a lot of these kids are not aware that they're very competitive for institutional scholarships, presidential scholarships. So, Hey, come out from there, go to this great commissioning support source, which has a great support network around you, and then go off in life and do your thing. If you want to go back home, use your GI Bill to get your master's and go back home and start your career from there. So we just want to continue to expand and grow and get more kids opportunities.
Yeah. And so in regards to your program and what you're doing, I kind of get a sense that you're really trying to help with the diversifying, right? With more minorities, more females, more,
The goal is to have more women and more minorities, because that's what the DoD is seeking. That's, okay. We're following the lead of the DoD. There's a need. We just want to be one of the gaps to help. The plugs to help fill those gaps.
Yeah. And I think that's wonderful. And I think that's awesome, because again, women going into the military, people think that has happened for a long, long time. It hasn't been emerging, like I remember when I went in, the female to male ratio was just crazy. Because there was, of course, more males than females. But now as we diversify and it's become more of I want to say a natural thing, right? You're getting more and more females that choose this as an option.
No, we're not just getting more females. We're getting a lot more badass females, right?
I love it.
I'll use Captain Nina Sarankis, for example. Graduated from VMI, wanted to go to medical school, went into the Army because just wanted to try that out first. Ended up being the first woman from VMI and the 9th woman overall to graduate from the U.S. Army Ranger School.
Nice.
Ended up going back to the 82nd and serving in the infantry company. and now she's out of the Army and going to medical school.
Yep.
So it's not, we've seen this trend for a while, a long time coming. And I used to share with some alumni and some other senior leaders in the Army and say, hey, man, I don't know, man, they're coming. I mean, right. you may not be around for it, but they're coming up. And I think 1 or 2 months ago, the Army just went over its first, the 100th woman graduated from the U.S. Army Ranger School. So nice. I'm looking forward to that because now we have those examples of ladies of, hey, what can be done at these institutions and reset it. And what the great thing about it, the nutrition is improved, the level of fitness is improved overall in society. So you have more people and you just have kids now that don't look at what they can't do. I mean, I graduated, we were just happy to graduate, Lord have mercy. Now have kids, now I got kids that electrical engineers that want to study Arabic. So, so who am I to deny? My job is just to support and just, hey, man, go on out there with your bad self and do your thing.
Yeah, exactly. Now, so I'm going to ask you this question because I know you speak to a lot of these students that are out there. Mm-hmm. And I get a sense from the generation X and Y that they want a sense of purpose, right? They want to have a social purpose. How does that tie in? Do you hear that? Do you see that? How does that tie in with the military? How do you see that, come together?
I think the thing with kids now is the same as it's always been. You have to listen more than you talk, right? It's, a lot of veterans are very proud of their service, and sometimes they get caught up in about their experience and what was exciting for them. First, you have to listen to the kid and figure out what their goals are. There's thousands of careers that you can have in the military, so it's no point in me talking about them if that's not what the kid is interested in. So Once we figure that out, you define how the military can help them achieve their goal and what their level of scope of responsibility can be. I think that most kids, and I'll use an example, a lot of kids that want to major in kinesiology or they want to go into physical therapy. Well, my question is do you want to be the ones that's doing the hands-on, stretching people out, or do you want to be an entrepreneur and have a business where you have 4 or 5 locations with 14 to 15 people per on site? Yep. And they look at you like, yeah, that's what I want. Well, okay, then. So being a veteran, a minority veteran entrepreneur, hey, there's a path that you can do this one. And all these benefits you get to do there. So I think once you do that, there's much more buy-in. And I think that for me, the advantage is I don't come in with an agenda. I'm not looking for quotas, right? I'm not a recruiter where I have to hit a goal. So I'm just doing this. And so our conversations are much more straightforward. Like, hey, how can I help you achieve your goal? And, here's a pathway. Ultimately, you have to do it. I can't sign you up. So I'm just laying out the path. So, but you're spot on. And I think that kids now have a higher sense of purpose than I've ever seen before. They're definitely a lot more visionary. So you have to kind of be respectful of that, but at the same time, show them that there's a journey to it, because sometimes there's an eagerness to want to be able to contribute right away. And but honestly, that's a good thing to have, being able to have a kid that you have to pull the reins in on or pull back, as opposed to having to kick them in the arse. That's a good problem to have.
Right. And then I'm going to reference my personal life because I really do have a lot of respect for what you're doing. One of the reasons I joined the military, not only was it like my dream and whatever, was, I didn't come from a traditional sense where my parents said, hey, graduate high school, go to college. No. My parents were like, hey, you graduate high school, you get married, get the hell out of the house. Right. Mm-hmm. And so to me, the military was an option to get an education, right? Yeah. To get an education that I didn't have to worry about or stress over. And, and what did that mean? Did that mean me sacrificing or giving, 4 years or, 6 years of my life to get that in exchange? To me, it was like a no-brainer. Like, sure, because I'm going to learn some really good skill sets that really are, I tell people all the time, like everything I learned in the military groomed me to be an entrepreneur. It groomed me, right? Like it was twofold for me. So I was going to get an education and being groomed to be a leader.
I think you hit on something that that's kind of, I think the one thing that has changed now, there's a lot more family involvement. There's a tightness, especially with kids and parents, where parents want to be part of the process and want to be there, and a lot of times want to hold them near and dear from there. And you kind of have to kind of flip it a little bit, and because it's going to still always come down to a family decision, but show them how this is going to enhance the family. When you have a family, like, okay, you're going to have this one, you can actually use your VA certificate to purchase a home, and not just purchase a home. Now you can purchase a rental property.
Right.
Now you can get the family involved. Who's going to be the accountant? Who's going to manage the property while you're serving and doing it? I think when you start looking at ways of how to be more inclusive of everyone in their circle, there's a greater degree of trust. And the military has always done that with people over time. I think we just kind of lose sight of it. We got to highlight those examples and show them, and so they can make ownership, make the decision, and say, hey, look, this is how this is going to enhance all of you and those in your family, your circle, and get back to that growing that generational wealth conversation.
Absolutely. And that's a great way to wrap all of that together. So as a business owner, as a corporate leader out in the community who may be watching, how does someone get involved to help with your mission?
Definitely look at our website and give us a contact. Email addresses on there for info, or email me directly at eSeanLanier@resolvesolutions.org. Definitely, there's a variety of ways. One of the things, being military and not understanding nonprofit space, it takes a team effort. You have to have corporate sponsors. You have to have small donors. You have to have your local community doing those things. You got to have the contacts with DoD, the military presence. So it's really been a lot more challenging. I've utilized all the skill sets in the military, and I'm still learning, which is why I'm going back to Notre Dame to go to school, because there's more ruts that I got to put in my rucksack. But for the corporate sponsors out there, I think the challenge that I have for them is, don't get caught up with the shiny shiny object and do the photo op. This is be part of the community, and see the process, because I hear these CEOs say we don't have the talent. Well, okay, we can help out with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Only 30 to 40% of our kids are not going to go active duty. They can go into the Guard and Reserve, so they may be working for you. So give us a call. So for those the small family foundations out there, we have kids in your community that you can have a direct impact, that you can see their growth and maturation over 3 to 4 years. We have 2 kids that's going to language immersion this summer, one to Ghana, one to France. So if you want to watch their journey, sign up. If you want to sponsor another kid from their summer. So there's a variety of different ways to get involved. Just reach out and tell us what you can do. And we work from the coalition of the willing.
Yeah. And I always tell people that if they don't understand somebody who is veteran trained, military trained, that those are the best employees, because they're so disciplined. They're absolutely disciplined, and they're loyal. Yeah. And so companies need to understand that if you're looking at, prospects, I personally, have a higher regard for someone who has some kind of military background or training because of the discipline,
Discipline, and you got to understand that folks in the military are typically problem solvers. They're going to figure it out. Like, even if you give them a puzzle and there's several pieces missing, you can pretty much guarantee with someone in the military, they're going to figure out how to find a replacement part, right, to fix it.
Yeah, exactly.
And get going. And that's the intangible that people really underestimate when you bring someone into the fold in the organization. You're going to have someone that's going to find, hey, what we can do, not what we can't do.
Right. I love that. That's awesome. So before this show, you were telling me that you're going to be traveling a little bit. Do you want to share events that you have coming up, or things that, you're going to be doing?
Upcoming, like I said, I'll be in South Bend this summer, June and July. We're focused on our travel itinerary. Most of our events right now are still going to be virtual. We'll have some lunch and learn events that we'll probably have in mid-June. And then more catered in the fall. We'll probably have 3 to 4 events in the fall, and then in the spring, and build upon that. They'll be branch related, focus on Army 1 week, one time, and then Air Force and branch service. So follow on our website, on our events page, that'll be tagged in from there. And then we'll also have some kids probably go to the Women of Color and Women of Color in STEM conference, the WAC, which is in Detroit this fall. So just follow the events from there. It's going to be flexible as we continue to be health conscious with the COVID and resurgence of it. So, but we're very adaptable to have hybrid events and piggyback off other events.
That's fantastic. And then as we wrap this up, anything that you want to share with anybody that we haven't covered?
No, again, we're a proven success case, so 550 kids, 23 states, $51 million in offers. I mean, we probably have another 100 kids, maybe 11 million this year. So, the challenge that, don't look at us and say, well, hey, you've had success and you've had to figure it out. No, we still need your support.
That's right.
So I'm not, I'm starting to understand the song, Ain't Too Proud to Beg. That's starting to come back up. But don't look at us and just look at, oh, wow, that's great, infatuated. There's still a greater need in order to support more because we do want to scale up, and we're probably going to impact someone in your area. You just don't know it.
Yeah. So speaking of scaling up, what do you see 5 years? What do you see long run?
I think for us, the goal is to get up to about 500 kids per year. That's about $40 million in offers, with about half going to HBCUs. We want to definitely focus on HSI community. For example, Virginia Union is applying for HSI status. So being able to grow a population there and develop a relationship with the school is something we're pretty excited about, and to continue to work on those academic agreements. So if we have 500 kids per year on a glide path there, that 5-year cohort, what that looks at, that means about 2,100 kids total with a 70% success rate, which is the DoD average is 52%. That's about $735 million to $1 billion in total lifetime earned income.
Wow, that's awesome.
If they use the VA certificates correctly, that's about $2 trillion worth of generational wealth creation.
Wow, that's awesome.
Home ownership. And then there's another $160 million for scholarships for advanced degrees, which they can utilize it. Get their advanced degree or pass along to their spouse or to their kid, which raises the lifetime earned income for a family. So for us, it's really about generational wealth creation, and then putting citizen soldiers that are back into our society that are contributors.
Nice. And Sean, remind everybody again how to get a hold of you if they want to reach out to you.
Again, check our website at resolvesolutions.org, or you can email me directly at eSeanLanier@resolvesolutions.org. I'll standing by.
Yeah. And you're also on LinkedIn and.
Oh, yes, we're on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. Definitely on my personal page on LinkedIn. You can go back and look at our posts and see some of the success stories from there over time, and then continue to follow us on, again, on Facebook as well.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you again for being on my show. I appreciate it. And thanks for sharing your story.
No, thank you for having me. And again, I still look back fondly at meeting you at the Military Influencers Conference in DC. And I say, man, Kat's she's going to do something pretty special. And then as I see you and watch you now, I'm still amazed at your progression. And, I'm just excited to be a part of it.
Well, thank you. And I'm excited to have you a part of it as well. And thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Kat.
Okay, bye. Thank you for joining me today, and tune in to the next episode of Stand Out and Grow. I've changed my days and times now, so I have moved them from Friday to Monday, so hopefully we'll get more people involved and tuning in. And of course, drop your comments, because I do respond to them, and I love to know what your thoughts are on my guests, and if you have somebody that you have in mind that you think I should bring on the Stand Out and Grow podcast, please send me a message. I'm always happy to receive them. So until next time. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Stand Out and Grow. Check out all the notes and links at www.standoutandgrow.com. I am so thankful to you for helping this show continue to grow. I want to keep producing content that you want to hear, so please leave me some feedback. I look forward to bringing you more resources and information to help your business stand out and grow. Please follow us on social media and make sure you follow this podcast so you can learn more about helping your business stand out, survive, succeed, and grow. Until next time, you got this. Advertise helps businesses stand out and grow with affordable advertising options. We will help you make good business decisions so you can save money and not just throw it against the wall to see if it sticks. Get your free strategic advertising analysis today so you can see the opportunities to stand out and grow your business. Visit www.standoutandgrow.com offers page to learn more.